Thank you very much for watching the Uganda Catholic Television. It's a Wednesday, the very last day of April 2025. My name is Sanjay Gloria Aboch, and I am here to present you today's news on Uctv. Now, the National Unity Platform Party has condemned the actions of security forces, accusing them of partisanship and selective enforcement of the law. This follows Monday's disruption by security personnel of a youth event at the party headquarters at Makerere Kavule, where the party had planned to launch its protest vote campaign and strategize for the upcoming general elections. Now, while addressing media today at Makerere Kavule, the NUP party president Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu criticized the security forces for permitting some political parties to operate freely while consistently interfering with NUP activities. Kyagulanyi urged party members not to be intimidated but to remain focused and committed to their cause.
Many of you saw the day before yesterday when the military surrounded this our headquarters ahead of a press conference by the youth belonging to the National Unity Platform to launch an effort to win the soon coming youth elections. Now, in a country that masquerades as a democracy, it should be shameful for the military and police to be playing partisan politics, to come and surround our headquarters without any moral or legal reason whatsoever. But again, it should go further to show us the kind of impunity that we are living under and how much we must fight to free ourselves. You, the journalists, recently were beaten and will be beaten again and again and again until we are free, so that everybody and anybody can practice their profession and calling in peace and with dignity. Got to know about the abduction of our brother Edward Sebofu, also known as Eddie Mutwe. Eddie Mutwe is the head of my security, and he was trailed and abducted violently from Mokono, where he had gone together with other comrades to attend a small private function of one of our comrades, Isma. Eddie Mutwe was taken away, and up to now, we don't know where he is. The police, as usual, has come out to deny having him, just like they denied having Nyanzi, just like they've denied having many of our comrades in the past. We continue to demand for Eddie Mutwe, dead or alive. But again, it's not only Eddie Mutwe. Many of our comrades are missing. We have a brother called Sentongo Shakul, also known as Gaza Media. Gaza Media was abducted last month. He is still missing. Police and the military continue to deny knowledge of his whereabouts. Although some of our comrades that have returned from that military detention from CMI have told us that they saw him there, very badly tortured. When Bright Muhumuza from Barara was freed from CMI, he told us he saw Gaza Media there. When Vian Bashabe from Hoima was released, he told us he saw Gaza Media there. Even recently, our comrade called Chimera Ibrahim, also known as Miguna, gave us information that Shakul, Sentongo, also known as Gaza Media, is detained and badly tortured in CMI. Our brother Mpalanyi Michael was abducted on the 18th of March from Matuga, is also missing, but those that have been freed from CMI told us that they saw him there, and so is Douglas Nsambu from Masaka. We continue to demand for the unconditional release of these our brothers and others that are detained unlawfully, and we continue to condemn the terrible and backward behavior of our security forces of abducting people. In the same breath, I want to demand for the freedom of our comrades, including Achireo Chivumbi, including Wakabi Grace, Mugumya Gaddafi, and others. These are detained unlawfully in Masaka when the regime wanted to keep us in detention and to isolate me. They found ways using some of those that used to pose as our comrades to bring up, bogus charges against our comrades. We demand for their release.
The government of Uganda has reaffirmed its commitment to safeguarding the rights of Ugandan migrant workers following repeated reports of exploitation, abuse and even death at the hands of foreign employers. Speaking ahead of the national celebrations for the International Workers' Day set for tomorrow, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honourable Betty Amongi, announced that the ministry is deploying specialized labor officers known as labor attaches to countries in the Middle East with which Uganda has signed bilateral labor agreements.
There has been a growing concern about the treatment of Ugandan workers in foreign countries, particularly in the Middle East, where many travel in search of better opportunities, but often end up in harsh working conditions and in some tragic cases lose their lives. The issue partly stems from these honest recruitment agencies in Uganda, which mislead workers with contracts that do not match the promised job descriptions. Although the government has not always addressed the problem consistently, as such, it has failed to establish strong bilateral agreements. Today, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development says it is stepping up efforts by embarking on a deployment of specialized labor officers, also known as labor attaches, to various countries, tasked specifically with monitoring and protecting the rights of Ugandan migrant workers.
We have realized that most of the technical staff that are in embassies are there for diplomatic work. So we have now recruited labor officers who are called labor attaches, and we are now sending them abroad to be our legal people that are supposed to follow up cases that involves workers' rights who are abroad. We already have in Saudi Arabia. We are sending to UAE, Qatar, and these are the countries that we have signed a bilateral labor agreement with: Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Jordan. We have signed also with Oman. So we are working to ensure that labor attaches are in all those areas to ensure that we protect the rights of workers.
Abuse of Ugandan workers' rights is not limited to those employed abroad. It stretches as far as domestic workers within Uganda, where some foreign employers based in Uganda deny local workers form contracts, thence dodging the remittance of the mandatory NSSF entitlements.
You have non-remittance. We always ask for whistleblowers that you let us know, because sometimes they do not declare all. They might be remitting maybe half and we are not aware. That's why the whistleblower, and we have a portal that you can whistleblow. So I request that you always do the whistleblowing to enable our team, because the country is so big and the staff in NSSF are not so many to go everywhere. But the specific case of UBC, the His Excellency, this matter we had actually moved in to enforce, and then His Excellency the President pledged that government is going to, because they realized that the money which was meant for NSSF was not being released, and the income coming from UBC was not sufficient to do that. So government pledged and HE directed that finance should be able to pay their arrears.
In response to this, Amongi has urged Ugandan workers not to hesitate in reporting non-compliant employers so that the full force of the law can be applied against them.
The broader aspect for all is that if you see that your employer is not remitting, go to the NSSF website, get to the portal of reporting and report that particular employer, because your identity will be protected, so that we follow those people.
Nonetheless, Enoch Mutambi, a skilled specialist at the Ministry of Gender, argues that the high level of informality in Uganda's employment sector has made it difficult to effectively enforce workers' rights policies. However, he notes that the government has already taken some steps to address this challenge.
Now, one of the major challenges is the high level of informality. As you're aware, about 92% of people in employment are in informal employment. and a large part of the economy also is informal. 53% of Uganda's GDP comes from the informal sector. Now, the informal economy is very, very difficult to regulate. So you might have very good laws and very good regulations, but when it comes to regulating the informal sector, then it is a little bit tricky and difficult. And this is one of the reasons why enforcing the regulations is very, very difficult. However, government is doing enough. One of the things, for example, the ministry is doing is to try to convince the people in the informal sector to turn into the formal sector through incentives, by giving them support here and there, some equipment here and there, to force them back into the formal economy.
This comes at a time when the country is preparing to join the global community to celebrate the World International Labour Day, slated for tomorrow, under the national theme, consolidating the gains of the parish development model for increased productivity and inclusive job creation. Joseph Kabale, UCTV News.
Lands State Minister Honorable Sam Mayanja has intervened to stop the eviction of more than 20 residents from their ancestral land in Kabale sub-county, Hoima district. The residents who have occupied the land since the 1940s come from the villages of Ngemwa, Nyakasinini, Chigaga B village, Nzorobi and Inkwaki in Nzorobi parish. The disputed land, spanning approximately 10 square miles and bordering Bugoma Forest Reserve, became a source of attention after officials from the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom allegedly arrived with surveyors on January 15, 2025 to demarcate it without community consent. Minister Mayanja's intervention aims to prevent unlawful displacement of residents and ensure justice for the affected families.
Sabo DPC sengola ba NFA kaze wano kugoba bantu abo bonna bakwate kaidano NFA mukene dano sambajo ikenti mabusi ekyo kyogedde public enewe kyemazo mu winjo. Number 2 Mirario Bunyoro Kitara bagambe nti bajja wano n'emmotoka n'amagye gabaga okubakuba olwaleero nga tetunajja wano nze ne ambulance Zume ne RDC Hoima tubadde wali ne officials ba Kingdom watu mapode binango kene la ramondo kucha ikala kujungu kwa minga ne bakwange baruwe no kuda mulani kiki tugamjumi okibaro maheli ajuandisa lwaleero tukia baro anything Kingdom negamba obukama bwa Bunyoro dino sitaka lyabwe era tebajja kugoba muntu n'omu tubika algereri ngamikingo tala kibiri mugongano makode era donde njagala okulagira DPC emitoyera ni DPC omusajja ono gwe boogedde bamuyita Twegonze nyanga kyadima kiromo Twegonze eyefudde nti yakulira Bunyoro Kingdom nyaki muketerenya erepetalo Kingdom munonyo omukwate omuisaye imake for process Bunyoro Kingdom mweganyi yebadde leeta abantu wano kubika lekibwero kinyeyengo era Bunyoro Kingdom egambye nti the Bunyoro Kingdom would like to state clearly that you have no intentions of evicting any person from areas zona. Let me translate that one. Kalu yernya kimbe kulle maka mumito nya nirya mandano ingom maka keni. Tano. Ajja kugomwe nyaka sinina Zorobi Kwashi Zorobi Parish Tewari Kasaraba Kiganga B Kiganga Parish Konjo and Kitwaha Tewari no majja na tunako ngama jibiri ya mcharumelo kisome sama ana jibika alikuwaje nyanga ndokubakiri ya mope kakati yawo dombekumeni President Museveni n'agamba nti njagala abantu bange bonna basigale ku ttaka lyabwe Museveni wachemeta dali pale cheke kidogo mwingo mingi era alagidde bw'ati asasudde ab'ekikube sente zava mu World Bank zino Kaguta musabwa ebyapa omutwalo mulamba temukitegedde ebyapa mutwalo nga tutandikira wano kakati tewali akugoba ku ttaka lino pulezidenti abawadde ebyapa kakati ababadde batunda ettaka lyammwe muggyeeyo sente zammwe ababadde tebalima mukwate kakati temusigadde Yoweri Kaguta Museveni lwaki tumugamba nti abeewo.
Away from the international news highlights, it is time for Today in History. And that's it for the Wednesday edition of Uctv News. I am Sanjay Gloria Aboch. Do stay tuned to the Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all.